Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into some of the latest buzz around artificial intelligence.
Yeah, there's a lot happening.
We've got sources on new AI tools for work, some tricky questions about AI censorship, robotics making strides, and really interesting image generation stuff.
Exactly. So the plan is to unpack all that. We'll pull out the key details from the sources, try to make sense of what's actually going on, and figure out why it matters for you.
Okay, sounds good. Let's kick things off with Perplexity. People might know them as that AI search engine kind of gunning for Google.
Right. And the news here, based on our sources, is this new tool they've launched called Perplexity Labs.
Labs, okay. And who gets this?
It's for their pro subscribers. So that's the paid tier, costs about $20 a month.
Gotcha. And what's it supposed to do differently?
Well, the idea behind Labs, according to the material, is to help people tackle, bigger projects, more complex stuff for work or maybe personal projects.
Bigger how? Like, not just a quick search query.
Yeah, exactly. It's designed for things that take more time. The sources mention maybe 10 minutes or potentially quite a bit longer. It uses extra tools under the hood.
Okay. So more involved. What kind of tools are we talking about?
It sounds like it can do research and analysis using things like, obviously, web search, but also code execution, making charts, creating images, basically building things.
Building things like reports.
Reports, spreadsheets, dashboards, even interactive web apps, apparently. Could write code, too.
Wow. Okay. So it's moving from just finding answers to actually producing the final product.
That seems to be the goal. The outputs, the files like charts or code snippets, they get organized into special tabs so you can view them or download them. The sources say it empowers users to make a broader array of deliverables.
A broader array. Okay, that definitely sounds like a step beyond just search.
And it fits a pattern, right? If you look at Perplexity's other moves mentioned in the sources, they've previewed a browser called Comet. They bought that professional social network, read.vc.
Right. I remember reading about read.vc.
So it feels like they're trying to build out a whole suite, expanding beyond that core search business.
Makes sense. They've also got that enterprise plan now targeting businesses.
Yeah. And the sources also mention these reports, or maybe rumors, about them being in talks to raise a lot of money, like $1 billion, at maybe an $18 billion valuation.
Whoa. Okay. Serious ambition there.
Definitely aiming to be more than just a search alternative, maybe like a central work hub powered by AI.
We should probably add the usual caution note here.
Oh, for sure. The sources rightly point out AI isn't perfect. We'd need to see labs in action to know how well it really works on complex tasks. Judgment reserved, as they say.
Right. So for you listening, the interesting thing here is this push by AI companies like Perplexity. They're betting you'll want AI not just for info, but to actually do the work, to create the reports, the analysis. Could it really handle your complex tasks? That's the big question.
Okay, let's shift gears now. We're going from productivity tools to something, well, quite different. This involves DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup.
DeepSeek? Okay. What's the story there?
They've updated one of their core AI models, R1. The new version is called R10528. And performance-wise, it looks pretty strong.
Strong how? Like benchmarks?
Yeah, the sources say it's getting really high scores on benchmarks for things like coding, math, general knowledge. Apparently, it's getting close to OpenAI's top model, O3.
Impressive numbers. But I sense there's a but coming.
There is a but, and it's a potentially significant one. Testing, highlighted in the source material by someone called XLR8 Harder on X, using their speech map tool, suggests something interesting about its behavior.
Where?
It seems this new R10528 might be, well, less willing to answer certain types of questions, particularly contentious ones.
Contentious meaning?
Meaning topics the Chinese government might consider controversial or sensitive. The claim cited in the source, based on this testing, is that this version is substantially less permissive on free speech-related topics compared to older DeepSeek models.
And even calls it the most censored DeepSeek model yet, specifically regarding criticism of the Chinese government.
That's the quote from the testing results mentioned, yeah.
Okay, that's quite a finding. What's the context here?
Well, the sources provide important context. AI models operating in China are subject to pretty strict rules on information. There's a law from 2023 mentioned that basically forbids content undermining national unity or social harmony, which, can be interpreted broadly.
Right. So how do models comply with that?
Usually through things like prompt filters, blocking certain questions, or by fine-tuning the model itself to avoid specific topics or give approved answers.
And this isn't entirely new for DeepSeek?
Apparently not. The sources mentioned earlier studies found the original R1 model already refused something like 85% of questions deemed politically controversial by government standards.
Wow, 85%. So this new one might be even tighter. Is there a specific example given?
Yes, the testing by Absol 8 Harder reportedly included questions about the internment camps in China's Xinjiang region.
Okay, and how did the model handle those?
It's nuanced. The source suggests sometimes it might use the camps as an example, if talking generally about human rights issues. But if asked directly about, say, the government's policies or actions there, it tends to give the official Chinese government line.
So, avoids direct criticism, defaults to the official narrative on sensitive points.
That seems to be the pattern described. And the sources note this isn't isolated. Other Chinese models, like those new video generators Magi 1 and Kling, have faced similar criticism about censoring topics like Tiananmen Square.
It really raises broader questions, doesn't it, about global AI development?
Absolutely. And the sources include a quote from Hugging Face's CEO, Clement Delang, basically warning Western companies to be careful if they build on top of these high-performing, open-licensed Chinese models. You need to understand potential built-in limitations or biases.
Right, because the performance might be great, but what comes with that performance matters too.
Precisely. So the takeaway here isn't just about DeepSeek R1's benchmarks. It's this complex interplay between AI capability, openness, government control, and frankly, geopolitics. Performance is one thing, but access to information and potential censorship is another critical layer.
Okay, a lot to think about there. Let's move from the purely digital to the physical world now. Hugging Face again, but this time it's about robotics.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Hugging Face, mostly known as this big platform for AI developers, they're making a serious move into actual hardware. Robots.
Humanoid robots, specifically.
Two new ones, yes, designed to be accessible.
Tell me about them.
Okay, so there's Hope JR. That's the full-size one. The sources say it has 66 degrees of freedom, basically 66 joints or ways it can move, it can walk, move its arms, the whole deal.
And the cost on that one?
Estimate around $3,000.
Yeah.
Which, for a full-size humanoid, is, well, relatively low.
Definitely cheaper than many research robots. And the second one?
That's called Reachy Mini. It's a smaller desktop unit. It can move its head, talk, listen. It seems like it's mainly for testing AI applications in a physical form.
And the price point there?
Much lower. Estimated between $250 and $300.
Okay, that is accessible. When can people get these?
They expect to start shipping by the end of this year, apparently. There's already a waitlist open.
What's the big deal here, though? Is it just about making robots?
The core philosophy, emphasized in the sources, especially quoting the CEO, Clem DeLang, is that these are open source and affordable.
Open source hardware.
Exactly. He's quoted saying something like, anyone can assemble, rebuild, understand how they work.
And why take that approach?
The stated reason is to avoid robotics being dominated by just a few huge companies building dangerous black box systems. They want to open it up, democratize it.
Interesting. So it's an ideological push as much as a product launch.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
And this hardware push got a boost from their acquisition of Pollen Robotics earlier this year. That gave them new capabilities.
Right. And it fits into their other robotics efforts too, doesn't it?
Totally. The sources mentioned Lee Robot, which they launched in 2024. That's like a Hugging Face for robotics, open models, data sets, tools.
And they're building on that.
Yeah. Plans for 2025 include an updated 3D printed robot arm, the SO101, with the Robot Studio. And they're partnering with Yak to get more training data for Lee Robot, specifically for things like self-driving machines.
So it's a whole ecosystem play, hardware, software, data, all aimed at being open and accessible.
That's the picture painted by the sources. So for you listening, the question is, what happens when robotics becomes more open source and affordable? What could you build or learn or tinker with if hardware like this was within reach?
Yeah, opens up possibilities. Okay, final topic. Let's swing back to AI creativity, specifically image generation. We're looking at Black Forest Labs.
Right, an AI startup. Their models were actually behind the image generation in X's Grok chatbot for a while. Now they've launched their own new suite of models.
Called Kontext.
Right.
And what's special about Kontext?
The standout feature highlighted in the sources is that some of these models don't just create pictures, they can also edit them.
Create and edit. How does that work?
Well, the top model mentioned is Flux.1 Context. You can prompt it with text, like usual, but you can also give it a reference image. And crucially, it seems designed for refinement.
Refinement, like making changes after the first image.
Exactly. We'll get to that. But first, the performance claims are pretty bold. The sources say Black Forest Labs reports state-of-the-art results.
Meaning?
Things like strong prompt following,
Yeah.
so the image really matches the text photorealism. Even competitive typography, which suggests text within images looks good.
Okay, hitting all the key areas. Anything else?
Speed. They're claiming significantly faster inference, potentially up to 8x faster than other leading models right now.
8 times faster. That's huge in this space.
It really is. It puts them right in the mix with Google's Imagen 4, OpenAI's latest DALL-E in ChatGPT that went viral. It's a hot area.
So back to the editing part. How do the models handle that?
The sources detail two main models. There's Flux.1 Kontext Pro. This one specifically allows generating an image and then refining it over multiple turns.
Multiple turns, like a conversation with the AI about the image.
Kind of. And importantly, it's meant to preserve things like characters and styles across those edits, so you don't lose consistency.
Okay, that sounds genuinely useful for creative work. And the other model?
Flux.1 Kontext Max. That one seems focused more on pure speed, consistency, and just nailing the initial prompt accurately.
Are these models you can download and run yourself?
Not the Pro or Max versions, according to the sources. Those seem to be API access or cloud-based. But they do mention an open model, Flux.1 Kontext Dev, which is in private beta for research and safety testing.
And people can try them out somewhere.
Yeah, they have a model playground online. The sources say new users get some free credits, enough to generate maybe a dozen images with the Pro model to test it out.
Any background on Black Forest Labs itself?
Based in Germany, reportedly seeking that $100 million raise at a $1 billion valuation late last year. And interestingly, the founders came from Stability AI.
Ah, Stability AI, the Stable Diffusion folks. Okay.
Yeah, and backers include some big names: Andreessen Horowitz, Brendan Iribe from Oculus, Gary Tan from Y Combinator.
So well-connected, experienced team, and they've released other things before.
Yep, other image models, enterprise APIs, that sort of thing, since they emerged from stealth.
Okay, so the big takeaway here is this move towards AI that doesn't just generate, but also edits and does it fast. For you listening, how could that change things? Think about creative workflows, digital art, maybe marketing, media. If you can create and tweak images that quickly.
It's quite a journey we've taken, eh? From AI tools trying to automate office work,
Right, to these complex issues around AI and censorship.
then jumping to open source robots.
And finishing with AI that creates and edits images at lightning speed.
It really shows just how broad AI development is right now. So many different angles.
Yeah, and diving into the sources like this really helps get a clearer picture of all those moving parts, I think.
Definitely. So as we wrap up, here's maybe a final thought to chew on. AI is expanding everywhere, automating tasks, generating visuals, raising these deep questions about control, even building physical robots. Which of these different paths feels like it's going to hit your world personally or professionally the hardest or soonest? And what does that imply for you?
Good question. Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.